what is it about this league that actually does prepare you for NCAA tournament games in March?
I think the big thing is that you learn to play against styles that involve a lot of player movement. A majority of the teams in our league, that's how they play, you know. Villanova didn't have a really good shooting night tonight. It's not that they didn't get good shots, because they did. They just didn't shoot the ball well as they're capable of shooting it. But the thing about teams in our league is they work really hard to get open shots, and they get them. And I think we're a pretty good defensive team, and they get pretty good shots against us. So when we get into the NCAA tournament, there are teams in the tournament that play like that, and we feel like we're prepared to deal with that. The thing that helps us a lot in the NCAA tournament is when we play teams that don't move as much as, let's say, Villanova team, or Creighton team, Seton Hall team, whatever the case may be, St. John's. When we play teams that don't move a lot, it really, for us, our defense actually gets even better in the tournament than it is during the regular season. So I feel like it's been like that for as long as I can remember. You know, the thing about our league right now is we don't have a lot of experienced, like, senior-laden teams, you know? A couple years ago, we had Creighton. They were one win away from the Final Four with a bunch of really, really good players who played together for a while. So I think when you play in our league, you may not have the talent to beat everybody, but I don't know what Villanova is going to be seeded in the tournament. But if you're not used to playing against a team like that, you're going to have your hands full. That's, you know, I believe that with all my heart.
We'll go to Alexa here.
Hey, Geno. You seem to have this, like, lightness and kind of fun around this team, even just like how you flicked that water in Sarah's face just then. What's made this group so enjoyable to coach, even as, you know, they go on this undefeated run, and as you try to hold them to such a high standard?
I don't know. I don't know. One of these two things, or two things can be true. One, as you get older, you get like a little more patient and appreciative of your life and enjoy it more. Or you get older and you get a little more cranky, you know? So I've had just enough crankiness this year, but because of the way they are, they kind of make it hard for you to stay cranky and stay agitated with them, because they enjoy what they do. They enjoy each other's company. They have a blast when they're around each other. They don't take things and blow them out of proportion. You know, they're okay with, you know, we're going to have fun when it's time to have fun, and we're going to work hard when it's time to work hard. And if I say something you don't like, that's tough. And they don't carry it with them. They just kind of go and roll with it, and let's go to the next thing. So they're kind of a team that is really bonded together on a common goal. You know, they just want to spend time together, and they want to play hard for each other. And, you know, what more can you ask? No matter how much I complain, I mean, if you know, if you were to look at this team individually, you would say, yeah, I mean, I don't know how many of these kids, you know, or even first team All Big East players during their couple years here, But when you put them all together, they just have an incredible chemistry together, and that makes it all work.
Emily?
You talked coming into the tournament about somebody always kind of has a breakout this weekend. Was KK that for you over the course of these 3 games?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it has been the case in all the tournaments that I've been in my career that somebody who's really, really good comes into this tournament and just has a weekend for the ages, you know. Heck, even Ice had one a couple years ago when, you know, when Aaliyah broke her nose. And I remember Megan Patterson playing with Kerry Bascom was MVP of the tournament. I remember Asia Jones, you know, and we had Sue and was MVP of the tournament as a freshman, you know. So somebody always pops up and has a great weekend. And for KK to have the kind of impact that she's had these 3 games and throughout most of the season, you know, we've come to expect that from her. But I think the confidence that she has on the offensive end is probably greater than at any time during her college career. And she's playing that way. You know, she always had the defensive confidence, but I think right now she's in a place that she's never been, that she's really wanted to be at. And I'm really thrilled for her.
We'll work down the front row here, starting with Doug.
Geno, there's always pressure on you guys because of what you've built over the years. Last year's team, there was pressure in the NCAA trying to get Paige a title, and you guys had the grout, so to speak, of not winning one. Does that make this year a little easier that despite being undefeated, there isn't that sort of externalness of, hey, we have to get one for somebody? It's, okay, we're in the spot. And the
I tried to make it about me, but they wouldn't buy it. So we can't go there. The closest that we come this year in a conversation that I had with a couple of them was, you know, we have a lot of motivation to win. Obviously, we're UConn, so, and there's pressure on us to win, obviously, and we have been to so many Final Fours. So the expectation is UConn's going to the Final Four, and so there's pressure everywhere you turn. But you do keep it. You do keep it in a sense. What is the real motivation? Is there one this year? And maybe last year that was the thing. Maybe it was the Paige thing. I think Paige is still in the picture today. Because I think they would be really, really pissed if we didn't win this thing at the threat of her saying, I knew you couldn't do it without me. You know, and that probably motivates them more than anything you can imagine. Their respect for her is so great that I think they probably went into this season with that specter of, well, they just lost arguably the best player in the country last year, and there's no way that they can repeat. And I think there's a real drive in them to prove it, that we're worthy. It's not going to be easy, certainly. It's never as easy as sometimes it's looked. And it's going to be really hard, harder maybe this year than certainly last year, for sure, you know. But I think we're prepared for whatever happens, you know. If we play well, we have a chance to win. If we don't play well, we have a chance to lose, and that's kind of been the case for 40-some years. We just want a chance, you know? We just want to put ourselves in position to have a chance. That's it.
We'll go here in the middle.
Hey, Geno, congratulations. You were talking about Villanova a moment ago and coming to thinking. You were talking about some of the other teams in the Big East, too. What is it to be the second best team in the Big East this year, in your opinion, where it looks like they're going to be the only other Big East team that gets in?
Yeah, you know, it's a difficult topic. It's one that's obviously thrown around all the time, and I think if you look back before the NIL really took hold, we had 4 teams in, 4 out of 11. Could have been 5. Last year, Seton Hall and Villanova probably have 1 loss each that cost them a bid in the tournament. The margin is so slim right now to get in since the climate changed. And when you look at the top teams in the country, top 25 or top 30, very, very, very few non-conferences that, you know, rule the world. It's becoming very, very difficult if you're not part of that, you know, to get into the tournament. And it's going to get harder every single year. Harder to keep your players because people are constantly coming after them, offering, you know, crazy things. And harder for teams in our league to get games against those teams where they can have a chance to prove how good they are, you know? So Villanova's had to win a lot of games, and losing to us, when you see some of the scores in the in the conference tournaments, that they're a really, really good team. And I don't know that there's anybody I respect more in our conference than Denise and Joe and the entire Villanova program. And it's a shame that you know, you're not given the benefit of the doubt like some other places are, you know. I just hope we play one of those 7 and I hope Villanova plays one of those 7 and 10 teams that might get in the tournament. I'll go pay to watch that game.
We'll go here.
Geno, with Paige gone, obviously Azzi was going to have to play a different role on the team this year, on the court, also behind the scenes. Looking back from 34 games in, how has she done?
She's not that much different off the court. I mean, you know, she's pretty much, you know, the way you see her on the court is the way she is. I mean, she's just like that, you know. I think she's been able to, class schedules and all that, being what they are, and when you've been here X number of years, I think there's so much pulling at a lot of these kids, you know. That's the one thing that's weird about the whole NIL thing. You get a day off, and normally they would all sit in their sweats in front of a TV and watch a basketball game or watch a movie. Now 5 of them are going out doing, we got to do a photo shoot, or we got to do this crap and that crap. So you don't get a chance to, if you don't work at it. And I think they work at it really hard at spending time together. And you know, she doesn't say much. She doesn't. She never has. But her being around and what she does say matters, you know. And the impact maybe has been more on the court and for the first time this year, and in the other years, there's an assertiveness, almost, I'm at that age now, and there's no one around that I need to defer to. And I think that's been the biggest impact that she's had on these kids.
We'll go to Maggie.
I'm just wondering if you've noticed a difference in how Sarah Strong is approaching the second postseason. Obviously last year, you know, still very dominant, but maybe she was holding back slightly because of the leadership you had with Paige and Caitlin, and now her slipping into even bigger role this year, obviously winning MOP today.
You know, leadership's a weird thing and a lot of people talk about it, and rightly so, I guess, but not every team that's really, really good necessarily has, quote unquote, outstanding leadership in the traditional sense, okay? Great leaders can lead a lot of different ways. KK's really, really vocal, but nobody would say, hey, Azzi and Sarah, they take a back seat to KK. KK's their leader. No, she's not. And everybody says, well, Azzi, you know, she's been there 5 years, and, you know, she's All-American. She's their leader. No, she's not. You know, Sarah Strong, oh, man, she's probably the first-round draft pick. If she would have left last year, she would have been maybe the first pick. Who the hell knows? Is that, no, she's not. Like, they don't look at it that way. They don't even think of it that way with them. And anytime I try to make one of them, like, step up and be that, in practice, they'll look at me like, why? Like, we got a bunch of guys that can do that. So none of them really wants to be that here, you know? And it took Paige a long time to be that. So I don't know whether that's just the cycle that we're in, where we're getting a bunch of really nice kids who don't want to do anything other than just hang out and have everybody be equals. That's the way I read it right now. They think like, wow, we're all equal. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think you're all getting paid the same amount. I know that. So, you know, that's just the way they do it. It's weird. It's really, really, really weird. So, you know, the thing I see about that, again, just like I said with Azzi, the thing I see about Sarah is just on the court, there's more of a definitive, this is what I'm going to do. There's no should I or should not. But even yesterday, it was such a pain in the ass. Watching that little exchange between the two of them, Blanca and Sarah on the fast break, pass, pass, pass. I thought they were just going to keep passing right into the band. I thought they would just get to the band and hand it to the trombone player or something. Somebody's got to shoot it, dude. You know, and it's just like, I don't know. It's a weird dynamic, but it works. It works. That's all I can say.
We'll take our final question here.
Geno, did you know coming into this season that KK was ready to be, you know, that starting elite point guard for a really great team? And what do you appreciate the most about how she lifted her game up this year amongst a bunch of really talented players?
Well, I mean, in all honesty, there's no way of knowing whether or not that was going to happen. You always hope that it happens, but there's no way of knowing. You know, that's why, you know, we said, hey, if we can find somebody in the portal to kind of take some of the pressure off, then we need to do that. And that's where Heckle came in, you know, because when someone's never had that role, it's hard to just throw them out there and say, okay, it's sink or swim, man. It's do or die. Our team's going to, you know, live and die with you out there. That's a lot. So let's get somebody else in here just in case, just to take a little bit of the pressure off. And maybe knowing that, or maybe not even knowing that, or maybe like going, hey, why do you think we need, you know, a little insurance out here? I don't know. But I think she's grown more in the last 4 months than she had in the previous 2 years combined. But you don't know that going in, you know? So all you're trying to do is, you know, it's not like it's Sue Bird's senior year and you can say, listen, or it's Paige's senior year, or, you know, even Caitlin Chen, who's been around, you know, and played a lot of basketball. So you have to let it kind of evolve, and you just kind of keep your fingers crossed and hope it does evolve. But, you know, KK wasn't doing this in November. You know, she wasn't doing all this with this kind of confidence in December. People choose not to guard her, choose not to, you know, treat her like a real basketball player, just like it's on offense anyway. And I think these last three, maybe certainly all of February, half of January, for the most part, I think she's gotten to the confidence level where the questions that she's asking me now, she could never imagine asking me those questions last year or the year before. And that's why I'm really proud of her. And Tanya Cardoza has done, and Morgan, Tanya and Morgan have done a great job, of, whether it's watching film or talking about what you see, so for KK to say, hey, should we run this? Hey, how about, or just, me being able to leave some things up to her for her to decide this is what we're going to do. Whereas before, even when she knew what she had to do, she would check with me first whether it was okay to do it. And there isn't that anymore, There's just let's play, and, that's real growth, And when people become better basketball players, that's one thing. But when they become more intelligent and more able to see the game and command the game, that's a whole different level. And she's not there yet. Don't get me wrong. She's nowhere near where I want her to be. But I wouldn't trade her right now for anybody else.